Hi guys, German Prepper here. In this video I have for you the latest statement from Dmitry Medvedev, the second most powerful man in Russia, regarding the possibility of the Russian Federation striking with nuclear weapons. Clearly this is a question every sane mind, meaning every prepper, is pondering right now. Listen carefully guys. Once again about the use of nuclear weapons. Our enemies love to make high-flown statements, operate with the terms freedom, democracy, mission. In fact, this is just ritual verbal diarrhea. Fountains of diarrheal demagogy coupled with vicious croaking rhetoric have become a long-proven weapon of the Anglo-Saxon world, with which they flood the rest of humanity in an attempt to defend their exclusivity and the right to rule the world. The topic of recent days is the Russian nuclear threat. Biden and Truss, various secondary Blinkens and Sullivans, spraying Atlantic saliva, demand that Russia remove its hand from its nuclear button. Together, they constantly threaten us with terrifying consequences if Russia uses nuclear weapons. And the London aunt, young in mind, is completely ready to immediately begin an exchange of nuclear strikes with our country. I have to remind you again, for those deaf who hear only themselves, Russia has the right to use nuclear weapons if necessary, in predetermined cases, in strict accordance with the fundamentals of state policy in the field of nuclear deterrence. If we or our allies are attacked using this type of weapon, or if aggression with the use of conventional weapons threatens the very existence of our state. The President of Russia spoke about this directly recently. In addition, we will do everything to prevent the appearance of nuclear weapons in our hostile neighbours. For example, in Nazi Ukraine, which is directly controlled today by NATO countries. It is pointless to count on the reason and political will of the Kiev regime, but there is still a fragile hope for common sense and a sense of self-preservation of the enemy countries condoning them. They understand that if the threat to Russia exceeds the established danger limit, we will have to respond. Without asking anyone's permission, without long consultations, and it's definitely not a bluff. The question is different. Imagine that Russia is forced to use the most formidable weapon against the Ukrainian regime, which has committed a large-scale act of aggression that is dangerous for the very existence of our state. I believe that NATO will not directly intervene in the conflict even in this situation. After all, the security of Washington, London and Brussels is much more important for the North Atlantic Alliance than the fate of the perishing Ukraine, which no one needs, even if it is abundantly supplied with various weapons. The supply of modern weapons is just a business for Western countries, however, heavily implicated in hatred towards us. No more. Overseas and European demagogues are not going to perish in a nuclear apocalypse. Therefore, they will swallow the use of any weapon in the current conflict. Something like this. It would be nice if this sad conclusion was at least partially realised by the authorities in Kiev. Alas, this is almost impossible. They are in constant war frenzy, with short pauses for bizarre drug dreams. So there we are guys, another interesting and of course completely biased piece from Dmitry Medvedev. Love him or hate him, he is certainly an interesting character, and for a politician speaks rather candidly, I find. A question for you all now to end. Do you believe the US would return a limited nuclear strike against a Russian Federation target if the Russian Federation struck Ukraine? As always, looking forward to reading your answers. Keep prepping guys. Cheers for now.